go. Then you have just repaired the cones on this bike. So we've identified the second problem as being an issue with the front brakes. Basically all that's happened is the cable is loose. So we're going to tighten the cable by loosening the cable clamp, pulling the cable through the cable clamp to the position that is favorable, and then tightening the cable clamp down on it again. So yeah, just use one hand to squeeze those together, pull that cable out, pull it out far. Squeeze those together, get the fourth hand on there, twist it around the other way. That's perfect. Perfect. Okay. Relax it. There we go. Cool.
That's completely up against the rim.
So what I like to do, loosen it up a little bit more. Just loosen the handle. Yeah. A little bit more. A little more. A little more. Maybe just a little bit more. There you go. That's probably good. Just tighten that down. So the principle behind fixing all of these systems is going to be exactly the same regardless of what type of system you encounter. Different styles of brakes to adjust the tension on the cable is going to be still loosening the cable clamp, pulling the cable through, and tightening the cable clamp. You might have to use different tools to do that. It might be more awkward, it might be easier, but the principle is still exactly the same. Headset. So it's obviously tight. Go ahead and give it a good turn to see if it's too tight. Should be. So what you're looking for is you want the wheel to not stop. You see how it's like that? It stops. There's too much pressure. That one was kind of a hard one. I cranked that headset down as hard as I could. And it's still, this bike has really good bearings, which is why it's kind of difficult to identify. But
I'm assuming that this is the place.
correct. So you weren't here for the headset, of course. So I'll give you a rundown on headsets really quick. It's a bearing system. You've got a couple of cone and bearings in here. You've got a couple of cone and bearings in here. Spacers, anything. This is what actually tightens and loosens the headset. Before you tighten this, you've got to loosen the stem so that the headset can actually use it. You don't have to loosen it a lot, you just need to loosen it enough so that the stem...
After it's tightened down,
if they're tight, it can. Yeah, what this does is it actually just holds together the system. All this is, around the headset, it just acts as a spacer. That's all it acts as. And then this pushes on the top of here, which pulls it down and pulls it all together. So that's what's going on. The first step is you have to loosen the stem. If you don't loosen the stem, then when you adjust the headset, you're not going to see it do anything because the stem is holding this in place. You just want to loosen the stem enough so that it will move. Maybe a little bit more. Now this is what's called a threadless headset. There's another kind of headset called a threaded headset, and what that means is you have a threaded. So the fork has threads on the outside of it, and the stem goes into the head tube. And then there's nuts that actually screw down onto the outside of the headset. With this one, there are no threads. So what you have is a bolt or a nut inside, which means the stem has to clamp on around the tube. And this is going into that. So once you have can go a little bit looser. Just a little bit. Cool. Now, loosen up the headset. You'll feel it when it's too much. When it's too loose, you'll feel it will have some play in it. When it's too tight, you'll feel it pretty hard. So what you're looking for now is you want the wheel fork, so it's still a little bit tight. You want it to relax down. Okay. Maybe wiggle that around too, so this will work its way up, right? This is going to be, feel that. So that's probably pretty good. You're going to want to check to make sure it's not too loose. It's not. So that's good. So now, what you're going to do before the headset is good to go, but now you need to tighten the stem back down. So what you're going to do is you're just going to make sense. You're going to line the stem up as best you can. Just crank that down. Yeah. You're going to be test riding this bike when it's done, so.
Yes, it does.
Yes. Don't be afraid to crank it down hard. There is a too hard, but it's hard to get there. So then you're just gonna see that again, feel how that is, make sure once you've cranked everything down, you're gonna check everything again, and that's pretty all right. That's tight, good. So that's 3.
Check brakes. We haven't got anything for these. You said make sure they go the range, the full range.
Until you actually get to the derailleur, don't worry about the shifters except to make sure that they're on tight, which they are. So the front of the bike, the steering system of the bike is all good to go. You have determined.
These houses look okay to me.
Yeah. You'll see obvious problems, generally.
Brakes in the housing, it's not a plug.
Correct.
PH.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so frame. Yeah, sorry.
It's up to you. You can go seat post assembly first, or you can go drive assembly first. They're both in the same position, front and back. I usually go bottom first and then top.
Okay, so let's see. This is what we talked about last week. You know, one way to test, I suppose, is to
Play with it. Turn it.
It's backwards as expected.
Go. Why don't you grab both of those cranks and make sure that the bottom bracket's okay.
Just do it by
Just grab them and wiggle them. Grab the cranks themselves. Feel something there?
over here. It seems to have a little bit more play. Over here seems absolutely firm.
Okay. So what do you think that might be?
Well, again, it might be something that needs tightening. Perhaps this large bolt that holds the whole thing on.
This is the easiest fix. Just crank that sucker down.
This one here.
Mm-hmm. Crank it down until you can't crank it anymore. One thing, let me adjust it on the stand to make it. Don't hesitate to move the bike around on the stand to make it easier to get at it.
This isn't a ratchet, is it?
No. So when I like to do it, or when I do it, rather than grab the other side, I like to get this side. Just really bear down.
Lay into it.
Yeah. Pretend like you're working out for the ladies. Get those pecs and those arms going there. Really. Perfect.
Okay.
Done. What's that? Issue number 4? Yeah, there's 3 left. We got 3 issues left. This is called a crank wrench, by the way.
This the recess here would make it awful hard to get anything on it.
Yeah.
Except that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I guess I'm not going to look at this quite yet.
You can, or you can wait. It's up to you.
Okay. Seat seems set. Kickstand is as it should be.
Good. I didn't even talk about the kickstand. I just put it on there the other day.
Okay.
It's good that you
did a
looked at
good
it.
job. You did a nice job.
Thanks.
Okay. The first thing I would think of is to see whether or not it. How
We're
it
looking at
lines
the
up.
front derailleur right now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so,
what you want me to look at.
so super easy. You just look at it. It's parallel. It's more or less, you know, it's tight. It's not going anywhere on the frame. Cables looks okay.
When you say parallel, you're talking about okay.
I mean, sometimes the piece of metal is actually curved, but you know, it's straight. It's in line. So, the best way to check a derailleur is to use it.
So this
So
would be the,
turn that crank and shift those gears.
be this one over here.
Uh-huh. So you might want to come around this side of the bike and be a little easier. And just shift those gears. Yeah. Push it again. There you go. Keep turning the crank. And it shifted. Cool.
Okay. Now, how about if I want
Shift
to
the
try
other way.
third?
You're going to push them now. Yeah. Cool. You shifted it once and it shifted up once, so we're good. Shifted it once and it shifted up again, so we're good.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and go back down to the middle.
And do you have another trigger for that, or is it just?
It's this one. Yeah. That's it. Keep pedaling. Here you go. So, what do you think? Derailleur's good?
Well, I wish mine were that
Cool.
nice.
Derailleur is good. Go ahead and hit the brake on that one.
It's equidistant from the rim. It's 2. And it seems adjusted nicely. So it doesn't seem to be a brake issue there. So I don't know whether it's the mud on the tire, but it almost seems to be on true.
Why don't you check the tire first?
Oh, wait, that was a flat.
We've got a pump to fix that problem right here.
All right, let's lay in.
Now, I've got it twist a little bit, so
Yeah.
you've got an issue and you want to make sure that that's coming straight.
Okay.
To do that, you can just slide the tire around. There you go. Cool. These style of pumps, yeah, you're just gonna pull it right out from there, and they screw onto the valves now.